Hey y'all. y'all came in y'all came in on my friend's live. Uh so I figured I'd just go live. We could just talk about whatever today. I don't have anything specific to talk about. Anything specific. Uh Sometimes you just want to have these open-ended Q&A sessions. So let's have an open-ended Q&A just about whatever. What's going on, y'all? What is going on? What is going on, you all? What's up, Portia? Hey, Roxanne, what's going on? Uh-oh, wait a minute. I messed up. Screw the pooch on that one. You still have Tay up on your computer? Yeah, I came. She invited me in on her live. And I was like, if you if you invite me in on your live, that's gonna be about some 40,000 people that's about to maybe come in, depending upon what the topic is. So I had to tell her just to hold off, just to end it. We went to school together. What's going on, sir? How are you? What's going on, Chris? What's going on, Woodall? You know what? This is just gonna be a regular Q&A, kind of sort of like a whatever you want to talk about thing. Talk about kids, guns. You said so. XDM over Glock. You said, what's your contact info? I have a family unknown that needs a CPL. 773-372-3929. That's the number. 773-372-3929. The business is Security Trading Concepts. It's on 79th and Normal. We could just talk just about anything, whatever you want to talk about. You know, I'll rant and kind of not rant. I'm not gonna rant. That's too much energy. We could definitely talk about whatever though. Can I inbox it to you? Yeah, inbox me the request so that I can inbox it to you. Cause trying to find you, so just talk to me. What's going on, Miss Actress /firefighter? What's going on, Sandra? Doing great things out there. I see you. What's going on, Miss Bates? How are you? Yeah, inbox that to me so that way I can go on ahead. And so you said, what about EJ? 3 shots. You said going national? What's that, Misty? Going national. Hey, what's going on, Miss Bates? How are you? Did I inbox you and ask you, were you my cousin? I think you told me you were. That's a famous last name right there within the Brown Bates family. But plenty of things I guess I could talk about. I don't know. What's going on, Sharice? Hey, Sandra, how are you? What's going on? I still haven't seen you on Chicago Fire, but I guess you told me you were on there. What's going on, Patah? How are you? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, Terrence? So this is just general. Oh, somebody was talking. You said, Blake, you're ready? Somebody was talking about Glock versus Springfield XD and the trigger. You said you're going National Domestic Violence Registry. What is that, Misty? Enlighten me about what that is. Al Pacino, I'm not talking about anything in particular. This is just, we can talk about anything. We can talk about guns. We can talk about kids. We can talk about whatever. This is just us just talking, just a free flow, if you will. So whatever you want to talk about, we could just talk about it, okay? I don't have any specific topic or anything like that. I mean, I do. I have a plethora of things I can talk about. But, okay, you said new law where domestic violence offenders have to register. Okay. If that's going national, that's a good thing. I'm still kind of jaded about domestic violence. Not saying that I approve of it. Obviously, I don't approve of it. But what's going on, Robert? I don't approve of it at all. But what I don't like is when people, trying to use that law, try to use that against a person who really isn't a domestic batterer, okay? And then they try to use that as a tool of control, try to use that of a tool to express hurt when there really is no evidence of any kind of domestic violence, things like that. That's what I have a problem with. But other than that, kudos, domestic violence offenders who are bona fide offenders need to be on that registry, Yeah, good questions. You said you love Glock, but you despise the trigger, grip, and palm safety. All right, Laura, are we talking about the same gun? You said you love Glock, but you despise trigger, grip, and palm safety. Now, Glock does have a trigger safety, but there's no grip or palm safety on a Glock. I think you might be talking about a Springfield XD, which has a grip safety in the back. Okay. I think that's what you're talking about. Drea, you said you were denied a FOID card. How hard is the appeal process? The appeal process sucks. It really does. When you're denied a FOID, depending upon the reason why you're denied in Illinois. This is in Illinois we're talking about, by the way. The FOID is an acronym for the Firearms Owner's Identification Card, or more so an abbreviation for the Firearms Owner's Identification Card. All Illinois residents have to have an FOID card in order to be able to purchase or possess a firearm, stun gun, taser, or any kind of ammunition. So the appeal process is, first, you appeal to the Illinois State Police Firearms Services Bureau, and then it makes the way up the chain to the director of the state police. He or she, currently a he, Leo Schmitz, could approve or deny, and then you would have to go to appeal it, administrative review, with the circuit court of where you live. In Cook County would be the Circuit Court of Cook County. Okay, so that's pretty much how that process is. It's very tedious, costly. If you get a lawyer involved, and depending upon the circumstances, you might want to get a lawyer involved. Because, you can't just say, well, I think it's unfair. You have to specify reasons why, qualifiers, disqualifiers, things like that. And so the appeal process, if you don't know what you're doing, can be, and you only get one time for that appeal, one chance for that appeal. So you have to make it right the first time out. Hey, what's going on, Trisha? How are you? You said you don't like those alternate safeties. Yeah, I'm not a fan of firearms that have more safeties than necessary. I would actually prefer my firearm to have zero safety, except whatever internal mechanisms, keep the firearm, if dropped, from going off, stuff like that. Trigger safety, drop safety, firing pin safety, things like that. Obviously, I'm listing the Glock safeties, okay? And I'm not saying I'm particular to Glock, before I got, see right here, I got Glock Bite. And this isn't Glock Bite, actually. This happened when I had used a Springfield, Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. And, this is what happened when the slide kept running. I'll talk to you about the high school, too. This is what happened when the slide kept rubbing up against my the fatter part of my wrist. Okay, not wrist, whatever this is. Not the wrist, but the fatter part of the hand. I don't know. I'm not in medicine. So I don't know what this is called. The fatter part of the webbing of your hand. We'll just say that. But I didn't stop shooting. I kept shooting. I didn't care about that. I wasn't even feeling it at the time. You said, what kind of gun do I have? I have a plethora of guns. A plethora of guns. Man. Okay. Oh, somebody in the scaphoid. Thank you. Scaphoid. Thanks. I appreciate it, Shaniqua. You must be in the medical field. Thank you. But what type of gun do I have? I have a plethora of firearms. The one that I carry every day is the Glock 19, 9mm semi-automatic pistol, things like that. You said, off topic, thanks for being active and brightening my timeline with logic, love, and leadership. I appreciate that, Cody. I really do. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your followership. I want to thank you all as the followers. I really appreciate you guys following, giving me topics to talk about, and even being there when I go on my rants, my raves, and things both personal and professional. I appreciate that. I really do. You said you were in my armed and unarmed class, but your fiance broke his. Oh, okay. You said, do you need your own gun for your classes? No, you don't. No, we provide those firearms for you. And like I said, I have a plethora, but the one that I typically like is Glock. And I'm going to tell you this. I wasn't, when I first started out in law enforcement, of course, in the military, you all already know the Beretta M9 92FS or the M9, whatever. And they have different variants, stuff like that, depending upon what you did, what kind of handgun you carried. But in civilian, as a civilian, first gun was a Glock 19. Second one was a Glock 22. Third one was a Glock 17. Third one was a Springfield XD. Springfield XD. What was it? 9mm. XD, yeah, XD service 9mm. And then I went to the Springfield XD 40 caliber. Then I went to the Springfield XD 45. Then I had a 6 Sauer 1911 TAC Ops. That's when I first got into 1911s. Yes, we the business does teach the concealed carry classes. We do have them there. The next class that we have is this Saturday and Sunday. It's $85. That class is already packed. The next class after that, I have to talk to the other instructor who's going to be teaching that class, and so we'll come up with another date. So yeah, that's that. But the TAC Ops. Now, let's just talk about my experience with the Glock versus the XD, and then the 1911. I also had a Rock Island Armory, 1911. It was a little small one, 7-round magazine capacity. And then I had the full size one, and I kind of gave that one away. And then I had this 6-hour 1911 TAC Ops. Okay. You said, oh, did you get out of your 1911s? Your spent casings probably didn't. Look, I didn't. Yeah, no, that's what that was, Christine. I got tagged. No, I didn't get tagged. I got invited into her live. She and I, we went to high school together. And I said, when I come into your live, you know all my followers are coming right into your live. And she's at work, so you could put 2 and 2 together, and we got out of that real quick. You're fine. Glock, at first I liked the Glock, but the one thing I didn't like about the Glock was that Glock bite stuff, because the slide sits so low on the frame, if you will, to the point where when you're shooting the firearm, the slide just kept rubbing against my scaphoid, as I was told it's called, right? And or against the webbing of my hand. And I didn't like that, because when I grab the gun, the fatter part of my hand just tends to rise up. I guess it's because of the way the muscle, I don't know, whatever. I'm not a I forgot what it's called. I don't know, whatever. Not a doctor, okay? But I didn't like that. So I went to the Springfield XD because it was more ergonomic, okay? And I liked the way it felt in my hand. And then best part about it, the slide cleared the fatter part of my wrist or my hand. But the one thing I hated about the Springfield XD was its trigger. I cannot stand the Springfield XD's trigger. And can anybody tell me that's watching the difference between the XD's trigger and the Glock's trigger reset? I think I just gave the hint. It's the trigger reset. I love Glock's trigger reset because not only can you feel it, but you can also hear it too. Yeah, I've heard of Mike Conroy. I know I've heard of Mike Conroy. Mike Conroy's a good guy. He really is. He was in the military, stuff like that. Good guy. But you can also feel it too. And I think that feeling it and hearing it, even under that stress, is awesome. It really is. By the way, those of you all who are watching, what's going on? Hey, Becky. Those of you all who are watching this, we're not talking about anything in particular. We're just having a regular old Q&A session. You can ask me questions about firearms. You can ask me questions about FOID cards in Illinois, concealed carry. You could ask me cop questions, okay? You could ask me stuff about kid questions, discipline. We're going to talk about that high school thing, too. This is just a teacher strike. We can talk about that, too. This is just whatever you want to talk about. We can talk about that. And let me pull out a sheet of paper right here so that I can remember or just jot down some of the things that people want to kind of talk about. Hey, Velda, what's going on? Yeah, kid talk. We talk about that too. You know, it's issues dealing with that too. What's going on, Sarah? So anybody, got questions about guns, stuff like that, you can tag them on in, my opinions about this, that, whatever. Nothing much, Noel. How are you? Have I tried the Canik and the Walter PPQ? Best triggers out of the box. I do agree. But let me get back to what I was talking about because I'm going to get distracted, and that happens too. And what I did was I went to the Springfield XD because it was more ergonomic for my hand, but I began to, press the trigger, stuff like that, continuously practice, beat the crap out that gun. And the one thing I did not like is I did not like the Springfield XD's trigger. Concealed carry classes are $85. The next one is this weekend. It's already filled. We got to get another date, so I'm going to put out another date. Those of you all who are interested, that's a great question. Inside versus outside. Let me see. Inside waistband versus outside waistband. You see, I'm writing this down, so we're going to address it, okay? When am I running for governor? Never. I am not interested in political office. Thank you guys for your confidence. Support me in other ways. I am not interested in politics. It makes strange bedfellows, okay? All right, but when what was I talking about? The Springfield XD trigger. I don't like the trigger. I love Glock's trigger, the trigger reset. You could feel it when it clicks. You can hear it under stress. And especially those of you all who understand being under stress, auditory exclusion makes the sound deafened like this, and to be able to feel and hear that trigger under that stress is also great, because one thing that people don't understand is that trigger reset. Good concealed carry holster. Trigger reset is a key to establishing great shot placement and making sure that you're getting effective hits. Okay, effective hits. Now, we could also talk about shooting for marksmanship and shooting for effect too, because that's another thing that sometimes people don't understand, is the difference between shooting for marksmanship, center of mass, we all know what that is, okay, torso, and then shooting for effect, shooting to actually stop the deadly threat. You can go to MikeBrownsClass.com, Sarah. Mike Brown's Class, MikeBrownsClass.com, okay? And that'll link you right to the website. You can click on concealed carry and you'll get all the information about the classes. We are in Chicago, okay? So next question somebody had was, let me tell you the reason why I went back to Glock. And I actually have my firearm right here. Okay, want to make sure that my light is not around here. No magazines in the well. Good. Here we go. No round is in the chamber. You can clearly see that. Okay. So now, again, this is a Glock Generation 4. Okay. Now I did add sights to it. These are not the factory sights. These are night sights, the Trajecon night sights. But the sights that I have, if you could see that, okay, it's a big sight right here. All right. I want to call it ghost ring, but it's equivalent to that. Okay, front sight, big front sight, little rear sight. For those of you all that understand combat shooting, you know that the front sight, if you even have a chance to even use your sights, but the front sight is where that bullet is going. Now, if the lights were to go off right now, these would light up at night, okay? And the one thing I don't like Glock factory sights. First of all, they're made of the same kind of polymer as the frame, and those sights in certain situations have been known to pop off. So one of the reasons why I do like these sights is because, one, they are metal, okay? And two, I like this rear sight. This rear sight is extremely strong. Why do I like the fact that this rear sight is extremely strong? Because there are situations where you may lose the ability to use both hands, and you may have to load that firearm with only one hand, and you need to rack that slide. Well, this sight right here allows you to be able to rack off of your boot, rack off of a pair. Like I can rack off the desk right now. Watch. See? I was able to rack off the desk. Now, let's make sure no magazines in the well. Great. No round is in the chamber. Okay? No mag in the well, no round in the chamber. Great. Go in the safe direction. Press that trigger. Here we go. Now, you can rack off the table. You can rack off of a boot. You can rack off of one of your pants pockets with just one hand. So that's why I like these sights. It allows you to be able to do that. Do that with the standard factory Glock sights. That rear sight may pop off. Not saying you couldn't effectively use the gun, but if you're talking about using your sights, it becomes just a tad bit difficult. Not saying it isn't something you couldn't overcome. But that's why this front sight is big. It's very important. This is where the bullet is going. Now, the reason why I went back to the Glock instead of the Springfield XD, because I was a lover of the Springfield XD, but I went back to the Glock because when they came out with the Generation 4, they added these replaceable back straps. And for me, this is important. Hey, what's going on, Latanya? Latanya, by the way, that high school never called me. We're going to talk about that too. This is just we can talk about any topic here in this live, okay? Right now, we're just talking about guns. Because I'm a firearms instructor too. I don't know if you know that. But the one reason why I went back to the Glock, and I'm partial to the Generation 4 versus the Gen 5, because the back strap. I like this back strap. This back strap, what's going on with Tia? This back strap allows me to be able to grip the firearm, and this little beaver tail right here presses down on the fatter part of my hand, therefore allowing the Glock to be able to move to the rear and not scratch up this fatter portion of my hand. Okay, so that's why I went back to the Glock. That was the only problem that I had with the Glock. I like the finger grooves. I do like that. And the reason why I like the finger grooves on the Glock, and the Generation 5, they removed these. I'm not necessarily a fan of that. I like these. Why? Because in combat, in real life situations, your hands get sweaty. Your hands get wet. every advantage that you have to help you establish a good grip on this pistol will only increase your ability to maintain a good grip on this pistol when your hands are sweaty, things like that. And so sometimes when all a person does is they go on the range and they don't have any actual practical experience behind, using that firearm, they are missing certain things that need to be definitely considered when picking the type of handgun that works for you. And I'm not saying that handguns that don't have those that you can't establish a good grip. That's not necessarily the case. But you definitely want to take that into consideration. What's going on, Erica? How are you? Now, you said, where can you find gun laws? Here's the thing, though. People don't like the NRA. Some people don't like the NRA. But that is actually a great source of where you can find gun laws and link to state websites, depending upon where you are, www.nra, I think it's nra.org or nra.com. I believe it's org maybe. But in any event, you can go there and find your gun laws. You can always Google Illinois gun laws, Missouri gun laws, wherever you live, okay? Now, Patsy, you said, what gun would I recommend for a woman? Okay, how many of you guys want to know that question? What gun would I recommend for a woman, for a child, for a this, for a that? There's a criteria that was passed down to me, humble enough to say that. It was passed down to me, and I passed it down to everybody that I talked to with regard to what gun should you purchase, okay? Now, if you guys are watching this live and you're really interested in this, go on ahead and grab you some pen, grab you some paper, stuff like that. These are the things. We're in class, okay? That's the type of live that this is. This is just a regular class. We're just talking, okay? And I'll get to that question. Okay, you'll be in touch soon. That's great. Okay, so when we're talking about what kind of firearm you should get, there is a criteria that I typically use, okay? And again, we're going to make sure that no magazine is in the well. Great. No round is in the chamber. And I love making sure that not only I check, but that you all see no magazine in the well, no round is in the chamber. Okay, great. No mag in the well, no round in the chamber. Good to go. Okay, now, criteria that comes with actually what firearm should you pick. Here's the criteria. Before I get to that, let me ask you a question. $85 covers the gun usage, range fee, ear and eye protection, ammunition, and targets. And I do want to also recognize Don Bolton. He's a concealed carry instructor as well, so I am not ever stingy. I'm too blessed to be, stingy, whatever the case may be. If not me, go see my good friend Donald Bolton, another good friend Dan Lempa. Okay, Mike Conroy is a good guy. Okay, I think that in this industry, there tends to be the thing where, instructors, of course we're in business. We all want to make money. But the thing is, you get blessed when you share the success. Okay, that's what I believe. I can't speak for anybody else, but that's what I tend to believe. Okay, we may teach a lot of things the same, certain things differently. But I know Don, he's a great guy. I teach what I teach, things like that. And so there it is. And so this time you said, do I like the 19X? I haven't tried the 19X. It's probably the same as the 19. So I'll talk about that. But I don't have any experience in trying the 19X. I probably will. But I did hold it, okay? And I did, when you're like on the, in the gun range or in the gun store and you're actually, playing around with the trigger, seeing how the reset is, it feels the same. It really feels the same. The only thing is that it's a military version. They added a safety on it. I'm not a fan to that. Even the Sig Sauer P320, I could do a review on that. And I shot the P320 many rounds through that. The M11, which is what I believe is called now. M17 is called the M17. They added a safety on that. I love the Sig Sauer P320 without the safety. They added the safety on it. Why? Because that's what the military wants with the dummy cord at the end. That's the military. That's fine. But I don't like that safety stuff on there. I haven't forgotten the question of inside the waistband versus outside the waistband. What's a good concealed carry holster? And now we're talking about the 4 criteria. Here we go, 4 criteria that I use in terms of what type of firearm you should purchase. Okay, I want you all to write this down if you're writing this down. 1, affordable. Okay. 2, comfortable. 3, usable. And 4, battle ready. I'll say it again. 1, affordable. 2, comfortable. 3, usable. And 4, battle ready. Okay? Let me say it again one more time. Let me say it one more time. Okay, here we go. Affordable, comfortable, usable, and battle ready. That is the criteria that you should think of when you're going to purchase a firearm. Okay? Now, what do these mean, and where should you go so that you can try a different firearm to see if any of these 4 apply? You need to go to a gun store that allows you to be able, I'm going to get to those questions, okay? You all remember them so I could, talk about them, okay? You need to go to a gun store that is going to allow you to be able to try the gun, okay? You need to learn about the prices of the gun. And when you try the gun, when we're talking about affordable, comfortable, usable, battle ready. Affordable, comfortable, usable, battle ready. Let's talk about it. Affordable. One, you always want to consider the price, okay? Why? Because it does not make sense for you to get a $1,200 gun, okay? And that's what I paid when I got that Sig Sauer Tac Ops. It was a great gun, it was. And I'll tell you the reason why I don't have it anymore. Matter of fact, let me put that out there. Sig Sauer, okay, Tac Ops, 1911. Why I don't have it. Okay, here we go. Now, affordable. You want to make sure it's within your price range, okay? You don't want to break the bank on trying to purchase a firearm that's going to do the same job, okay, as would a lesser price one. But do not go. What's going on, Jenny? Do not go High Point. I say again, knife hand. Do not go High Point. You go High Point, find you. It's going to be some issues, okay? Do not go High Point. Don't even ask me. If you don't know what it is, I don't want to introduce it. Leave it alone. It's dead in the water, okay? Now, affordable, comfortable. What do I mean by comfortable? That firearm, again, let's check. Yes, I do live in Cook County. Yes, I do, okay? Here we go. Do you have to live in Cook County to take my concealed carry courses? No, you don't, okay? Here's go. No magazine in the well? Great. No round in the chamber. Great, here we go. Now, good. Now, those of you all who know about the Glock, you know what happens. The trigger's depressed. Okay, we're good to go. Now, what do I mean by comfortable? What I mean by comfortable is this. This firearm should fit in your hand like a glove, right? It should fit in your hand like a glove. The gun shouldn't be so big to the point where you can't even grip the firearm, okay? If you look at it, my thumb and my middle finger are touching. This is typically not how I do teach gun cleaning as well. This is typically not how I grip my firearm, but I'm doing this just to show, comfortability, okay? First of all, you want to make sure that your thumb is able to engage the slide lock, slide release, slide stop, right? Whatever your nomenclature is, that's fine. Slide lock, slide release, slide stop, okay? Your thumb needs to be able to reach that. Number one. Number two, I forgot what number we're on. Screw the numbers. Let's just talk about it, okay? Also, you need to make sure that your finger can comfortably touch the trigger without having to overcompensate or undercompensate your grip, okay? And some people do end up getting firearms that are too big for them, and then they have to adjust their grip to even comfortably touch and effectively use the trigger. That's not a comfortable gun for you. You need to find one that fits your hand like a glove. It should be comfortable in your hand, okay? Now, granted, in a real life situation, any gun will do. It's better than having no gun at all. But if you have an option, all right, affordable, comfortable, usable, that's where that usability works. Am I able to, again, making sure no magazines in the well, no rounds in the chamber, okay? No mag in the well, no round in the chamber. I do this religiously. I don't have time for accidental discharges. You will not be sharing a live video with me accidentally discharging or negligently discharging this firearm. It's not going to happen. Here we go. Now, you want to make sure that the recoil is something that you can actually control, right? You want to make sure that the recoil is something that you can control. You want to make sure that you're able to establish a good two-hand grip. You want to make sure that in your training, the gun is also comfortable in your support hand, which now becomes your strong hand, should your strong hand go down. Okay, you want to make sure that, again, don't get a Desert Eagle if you got baby Glock hands. Okay, don't get a Desert Eagle if you got baby Glock hands. All right, you want to make sure that you're able to touch the trigger, touch the slide lock, disassemble the firearm. Okay, you need to read the owner's manual, things like that. I'll talk about the light on here as well. Okay. Now, when I talk about affordable, comfortable, usable, we talked about those. But what do I mean by battle ready? Okay. What I mean by battle ready is this. Now, throughout the course of my career, both, in law enforcement, military, and as an instructor, I have heard various things. Never have I really challenged. They do make a baby eagle. You're right, Rob. Never have I really challenged someone on what they had to say with regard to some of the things they said. I was just soaking up what was being taught and what I was hearing in passing. And I've heard people talk about that. Well, when it comes down to a lady, I think you were asking that question, Patsy. A lady, you don't want to recommend that she gets a semi-automatic. You want to recommend that she gets a revolver, okay? Stacks on deck, my concealed carry classes are $85. You want to recommend that she gets a revolver because, it's 6 shots, it's easy, pop, and then in most, places, if you just shoot one time or shoot twice, you'll either scare them off or you'll go on ahead and place a shot in the right place, and then, that'll be all that she needs and stuff like that. I'm not in agreement with that at all. Here's the reason why. One, the day that you are going to have to use that firearm, you are not going to pick it. If you are a law-abiding citizen and you go about your day not looking for stuff to get into, you are not going to pick the day where you will have to use that firearm. That day will pick you. If you're in tune with your surroundings, hopefully you can see some of the signs that would let you know that something is about to happen and you react off of that intuition and get the heck out of there. But in most situations, the average citizen does not pay attention to their surroundings, and that's why I say it's going to happen when you least expect it. The question is, are you planning for that when you least expect it by the type of firearm that you have, given the fact that, one, you probably haven't been in an armed confrontation before. Two, we could talk about something, but as the saying goes in Korea, and many of you all have watched, what's the movie, Olympus Has Fallen, and it's said in that movie, saying something 1,000 times is not the same thing as living it or even doing it once. You could say it 1,000 times, but experiencing it is something that's totally different, okay? And depending upon how good your training is, that's going to be the dividing factor, if you will, between your ability to be able to calmly and effectively operate under that stress. The more that your training activates the sympathetic nervous system and all those physiological and psychological factors that happen or are likely to happen in an armed conflict, the greater you are, especially over continuous training and continuous activation and things like that. That's what's going to calm you, in essence, when that situation arises. But given that most people do not go through that kind of training, you also need to plan for the truth. You got to be truthful with yourself. If you know that all you do is go to the range and you're standing in full isosceles or in Weaver or in modified Weaver, and you have your hands and arms in isosceles or modified Weaver or Chapman, and that's all you do is punch holes in a piece of paper, then you need to plan for the fact that when this happens, one, you're going to need a lot of rounds, okay? Because one, you don't know where your rounds are going to go, okay? We'll talk about that too, safeties. I'm going to write that down. One, you don't know where your rounds are going to go, okay? So contrary to popular belief that a person believes you should be shot once or shot twice or in the kneecap and all this other stuff, that those are people who obviously have never been in combat and don't have any kind of realistic training to understand that we never shoot in the legs or in the arms, whether you're civilian, law enforcement, military, those operations are a little bit different, okay? But typically that is not the case where you shoot in the legs and the arms. It's all center of mass, okay? And then if you learn shooting for marksmanship versus shooting for effect. You understand other places on the torso where you shoot for effect versus shooting for marksmanship, okay? And in other places, we can talk ocular cavity and all that other great stuff. That's getting a little deep, which is a great conversation to have, by the way, okay? But in talking about... you're talking about lose a train of thought just that quick. Here we go. Yes. Okay. So planning for the actual situation. Why do I say it's important that you have a firearm that is battle ready? Because one, again, like I said, you don't see the bullets where they are going. They are traveling extremely fast. You are not going to see where they're going. The only time you ever see rounds is in certain situations where you have tracer rounds. Those are typically consistent with military operations, but you don't see where those bullets are going. Number one. Number two, the brain operates off of certain things. What's going on, Jason? The brain operates off of stimuli. That's how we respond. We respond to a stimulus, which invokes a response. It sends it from your brain into your body, and then the response emanates from your body. Okay, that's how we work. So when you're talking about shooting, your brain needs a stimulus to let you know that what you are doing is actually working. If you watch TV, that's why it is important for producers to write into the script certain body reactions, right? Blood packs, spatters, right? Because it's a stimulus to your brain as the viewer that what the shooter is doing is working. Does that happen in real life? It varies. It just depends on most of the time. No, some of the time, yes. It just depends on the situation that you're in, factors and stuff like that. But, there's times where a person has been shot. You don't see the blood spurting from them because the blood is internal. And so if you watch a lot of TV and you shoot somebody, you think that the blood is supposed to spatter out of the body. That doesn't always take place, okay? And so in a given situation, your brain needs another stimulus to let you know that what you are doing is working. And in more situations than not, it is when the deadly threatening forward-moving object stops moving forward and typically falls to the ground or falls back, whatever the case may be. Now, this whole fall back thing is a bunch of BS because you have to think about it, the laws of physics. The same force that can blow a person back must then also blow you back if you have nothing behind you to keep you from falling, to keep you from falling back. So that whole falling back thing doesn't always happen. In certain cases, it's a person's overreaction because of overstimulus, if you will, to TV and the belief implanted within the brain that that's what you're supposed to do when you get shot. Okay. So I kind of deviated a little bit, but that information is still important to know. That having been said, what kind of firearm do you want to get? Sometimes people suggest smaller firearms. Okay. Smaller firearms, especially in a concealed carry environment. Why do they suggest small firearms? Because you want to have something that's small, something that fits underneath the left or right flap. You get what I'm talking about. Something that fits right here in the bra holster or right here in your ankle or in your appendix. Something that is small enough to do the job, but not big enough to say, hey, I got a gun. Depends on where you are, yes and no. For me, it's going to always be a no. Here's why it's going to be a no. The battle may not be small. The threat could be under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or just have that pure adrenaline-laced desire to win the fight, okay? And if I think about getting a small gun with a small amount of ammunition, okay, the problem is if I'm thinking battle ready, one, I would not go on a military op or a law enforcement op, or I wouldn't even go on the streets with just a duty pistol and the magazine that comes with the actual firearm. I would make sure that I have my 2 magazines on me. In fact, I never really carried just 2. I typically would carry 3 or 4, 2 on my vest, 2 on my belt, stuff like that, and an array of magazines in my duty bag in the car. Why? Because the battle, right? The battle may be, even with just that one person, a sustained battle. You got suppressive fire. The person shot that look at the North Hollywood shootout. I want you to Google North Hollywood shootout. Just go on YouTube and find it. My God, when LAPD officers responded to the Bank of America in the North Hollywood section of Los Angeles, California, they responded with their service pistol. And at the time, it was the Beretta M9 92 FS. and they were shooting at these two people who had robbed the bank, and they were coming out, and the bullets, the 9mm bullets, were just hitting the body armor and having no effect. They were just clad from head to toe with nothing but body armor, and it was just a long, prolonged gun battle. And it wasn't until SWAT got there with more advanced weaponry to be able to defeat both of them. Okay, and even with the Glock 40 caliber, excuse me, I know you're saying Glock all day. We might get something to drink right now. I know you all saying with the Glock 40 caliber all day, that 40 caliber would not have penetrated that kind of body armor because they had flak jacket kind of body armor. Not like the weak ones that they let us use in the military, you know, when you first get in basic, not that. I'm talking about, you know, they had body armor that defeated the 9mm round. Okay. So what do I mean by battle ready? You know, that's why I like my Glock and I like double stacked firearms. What do I mean when I say double stacked firearms or firearms that carry double stacked mags? Now, those of you all who are 1911 lovers, you're not going to like this because I know you like your single stack 45 caliber ACP, and that's all. You just a well-placed shot one time. Yeah, okay. But we're talking about your average civilian that does not train all the time, and that's who we need to learn how to teach themselves to protect themselves, because you know, we can talk about the 9/11. That's another conversation. Okay, this is what I mean by double stack. Okay, this is one magazine that I use for training. Okay, notice these rounds are double stacked. Okay, double stacked. This is a Glock 17 magazine, and it actually fits in the 19. Now, granted, Glock 19 magazines don't fit in the 17, but the Glock 17 mags do fit in the 19 because the grip is shorter than the 17. Okay. And here it is, double stacked. You think of like, this is 17 rounds, okay? Excuse me, 17 rounds. Now, the Glock Model 19 comes with a standard 15-round magazine. We might have to go to the fridge. 15-round magazine. And this isn't the factory magazine that came with the Glock. This is actually a Magpul P-Mag, okay? And I like these. The reason why I like these, and as you can see, there's no ammunition in here, okay? Yes, I need to clean it. Cut me a break. Don't cut me a break. I need to clean it, but I'm not going to. You know that, okay? But the reason why I like these mags, again, let's make sure no magazine in the well, no round in the chamber, okay? And no rounds here. I like the P-Mags. The reason why I like the P-Mags is because the base plate of the magazine sticks out further than your factory Glock mags, okay? Sometimes when you're trying to eject the magazine out by pressing the magazine release, which is right here, okay? And that's another thing we're going to talk about too when we're talking about getting the kind of gun that is good for you, because some of you lefties, right, may have a hard time trying to eject the mag with a firearm that is typically, and most firearms are typically made for right-handed firers. So when you're talking about a firearm that's comfortable, you want to make sure that you have a firearm with an ambidextrous magazine release button. That's the one thing I do like about the Springfield XD, is that it has an ambidextrous magazine release button. Okay, but I like this kind of magazine, which is a Magpul P-Mag. This is for the Glock 19 because the base plate sticks out further, so that in the event, let's just say I'm in a very dusty area or a dirty area and there's dirt in the magazine well, even though when I try to eject my mags, I typically use gravity, and then I'll just press the magazine release, and then I'll flip my wrist to cause that force, okay, and gravity to eject the mag. But most times it works, sometimes it does not. So I like to have that base plate so that I can yank that mag out if I need to as a backup option, okay? And so again, thinking for the battle, not thinking for the range, thinking for the battle, okay? That's why I like my base plate to stick out the bottom, so that in the event that doesn't work, I can sit here, take my hand, extract that mag out, get another mag, rack up, and be ready to go, okay? So we're thinking about, again, for the battle. For the battle, you want to make sure you have enough magazines with enough rounds. Check your local ordinances or city laws with how many rounds you can have, okay? Because in places like Cook County, they tend to restrict, thinking that, oh my God, if we allow them to use less rounds means less violence. that is typically not the case. Okay, less rounds doesn't mean less violence. And you can sit there and tell me I only have to carry 10 rounds. That means I'm just going to carry more mags. Okay, problem solved. Moving on. So what are we talking about? We're talking about what kind of gun should you get, okay? Affordable, comfortable, usable, battle ready. Affordable, make sure that it's within your price range. Comfortable, make sure that it fits in your hand like a glove. Make sure that you can touch the trigger. Make sure that you can actually use the firearm. What's the purpose of grabbing that firearm if you can't even use it? If you can't touch the trigger, if you can't rack the slide with great ease, okay? Now, if you got some muscular issues, do some doggone push-ups, okay? And get some muscular strength, because this is a tool that requires you to be able to effectively control it and effectively operate it over continuous use, depending upon how long the battle may be, okay? And you want to make sure that you can touch the trigger and that you can effectively operate it. Any kind of safeties that may be on it, you need to make sure that you can effectively negotiate that safety. Now, why do I have a flashlight on my firearm? Is that a question you want me to answer? Why I have a flashlight on my firearm? Even as a civilian, why do I have a flashlight on my firearm? Here's the reason. Now, typically, and my flashlight is over there, okay? Typically, I do carry a flashlight around my waist. I do, okay? So I want to be able to see in the event there's a situation where I don't need to obviously pull out my firearm, okay? But I carry a flashlight on my firearm, even as a concealed carry licensee, okay? The reason being is because, again, planning for the battle. You're not going to always be in a well-lit area. You may be in a dark area. And I need to always have a free hand to be able to push a person away, a free hand to be able to grab, to take a person into custody, a free hand to be able to extract children, extract loved ones, okay, open doors. What do we need a free hand for? A lot of things, okay? And I need to make sure that I'm able to have that hand free and be able to see at the same time, or maybe even disorient the person who may be a deadly threat. I want you to understand that there is power with lighting, okay? That's the one thing that ASP, okay, and I'm an ASP, tactical weapons instructor. That's just a fancy name for handcuff and baton and flashlight instructor. When you learn about flashlighting techniques and things like that, a light can build a great wall that would allow you to be able to have time to actually create distance that could actually save you, okay? Now, Glock 17 versus the 19, I tend to prefer the Glock 19 with this flashlight. Why is that? Again, no magazine in the well, no round in the chamber, okay? I tend to prefer the Glock 19 over the 17. Why do I prefer the Glock 19 over the 17? Well, typically when it comes down to the actual flashlight, I want you all to understand something about firearm operations, okay? First of all, this slide, okay? And granted, again, no magazine in the well, no round in the chamber, okay? No rounds anywhere near us, okay? The one thing that this is what's called out of battery, okay? The slide is locked to the rear, okay? And the slide is out of battery. When you load your magazine into the magazine well, all right, provided it has rounds, and it better have rounds in there, okay? You can either cause this slide to go forward into battery, either by pressing the slide release, okay? And it typically has 3 names depending upon the user: slide lock, slide stop, slide release. You press this and it causes the slide to go forward, okay? It's a guide spring in here, and it literally is a spring, okay, that allows it to go forward. Now, you can also rack this slide by pulling it back, releasing the slide lock, slide stop, slide release, and allow it to go forward into battery, full battery, okay? Now, once this slide is into full battery, it's ready to go, okay? It's ready to go. No mag in the well, no round in the chamber. Good. No mag in the well, no round in the chamber. Good to go. Now, let's just say you were in a situation where you were clearing a house, clearing a room, whatever the case may be, and a threat happens to jump out at you. You may not have enough distance behind you to be able to create distance to react to that threat. Sometimes you may have to push that firearm into the threat. if you push that firearm into the threat, what you could do, depending upon the type of firearm that you have, you may knock the slide out of battery. Why? Because typically when a person carries a firearm, they don't have a flashlight or some other kind of barrier, okay, that you could push into the threat. And what could happen is you could cause that slide to be knocked out of battery. In some situations, if that slide is knocked out of battery, as you see here, the firearm may not fire. And that would pose a problem, okay? Why? Because the actual firing pin is contained within the slide. And this is a striker fire pistol. It's just like how you, in order for you to activate some kind of electronic device, how the plug needs to be put into the socket for the electricity to run through that device, for that device to be able to turn on. Same principle with this. The slide needs to be forward and into battery, full battery, right? In order for the striking mechanism, which is contained within the slide, and the trigger mechanism, which is contained within the grip, I call it the grip group, okay? Or the grip housing group. These two have to connect in order for that striker to be activated, all right? If the slide is knocked out of battery, that gun will not fire, okay? The little firing pin that's in here, the striker, will not touch, or actually it could touch the back part of that round, but they wouldn't even connect, okay? So what prevents that from happening? I like this flashlight. Notice that this flashlight is forward of the muzzle. That way, again, making sure before I demonstrate this, no magazine in the well, no round in the chamber, okay? Now, the minute I press into my hand, notice I'm pressing hard into my hand. Do you see the slide being disturbed at all? No, you don't see that. That's why I like the Glock 19 over the 17. It causes the head of the flashlight to be forward of the muzzle to allow me the ability to be able to press in the event I need to, okay? And so that the slide is not disturbed. Again, thinking about the battle, not the range. You guys been learning something from all this? Yes? No? Maybe so? Was that a pretty good lesson? I mean, I don't know. I tend to think it is. Those of you all who are firearms instructors who are watching this, please feel free to chime in, okay? If you guys think this is a good lesson, okay, feel free to chime in. I tend to think it is because you got to think about that battle. You really have to, okay? The time of the battle is not the time to think, just like the time of the fire is not the time to learn how to put it out, okay? What's going on, Jason? All right, here we go. Inside the waistband versus outside the waistband. What do I prefer when we're talking about inside the waistband holsters? What's going on, Didi, versus outside the waistband holsters? I tend to prefer outside the waistband. Here's the reason why I prefer outside the waistband. I prefer outside the waistband because, again, thinking about the battle, when you press that trigger once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, especially under stress, ask anybody who's been through that situation. Sometimes you're just pressing that trigger until you see the physical stimulus of that person down to the ground, okay? Now, you don't want to be the one person that is still standing outside with that gun after stopping that threat with that gun in your hand. But you are cognizant, maybe you're aware, maybe you're not, I don't know, of that gun and how hot it is. And you also recognize that depending upon the kind of inside the waistband holster you may have, that it may burn. Yeah, it may burn. And so imagine, right, think about it. 4 seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter, okay? Let me go get my holsters right now. Here we go. And I actually have an inside the waistband holster, and I actually have an outside the waistband holster with me. How about that? What's the co-inky dink? Okay. All right. Give me 1 hot minute. Bow. 1 hot minute. So that way I can demonstrate. This moment has been sponsored by Preparation H. Put some healing on that hole. We'll be right back after these messages with more from instructor Mike Brown after this. Yeah, I had to do my own commercial. Yes, it did. Here we go. All right, we are back. Maybe I should go to the refrigerator and grab something to drink. All right, here we go. Tell you the difference between outside the waistband holsters and it. Yeah, I went there, Sandra. Yes, I did. Do I teach rifle classes? Yeah, I haven't taught them in a civilian form. Okay, that's good. All right, here we go. Oh, yeah, I went there, Robin. Yes, I did. All right, inside the waistband holsters versus outside the waistband holsters. And I actually have both of them here. I need to grab a coin so I can take off this light. This is good enough. All right. All right, here we go. Let's get back to teaching. Oh, here we go. All right, here we go. Inside the waistband holsters versus outside the waistband holsters. Here we go. Now, the holster that I actually have on me is a outside the waistband holster. Okay, outside the waistband holster, and I had to grab that. And this is an inside the waistband holster. Now, this is a Black Hawk one. Okay, and I'll show you how this actually fits into your actual holster. Take the flashlight off of here. All right, now, I'm so used to my gun not looking like this, okay? Now, this is an inside the waistband holster, okay? You actually put it on the clip just like this, okay? Or actually put it inside. You said for being battle ready. As for being battle ready, would you consider carrying with a round? Yeah, Kenneth, you better carry with a round in that doggone gun. We are not going anywhere without a round in the chamber. It makes absolutely no sense to carry with a round without that firearm being chambered. Okay, because think about it. When you get into a deadly threatening situation, right, your body is going to dump, okay, a lot of blood and oxygen into the major muscle groups, all right? Those fine motor skills, they're going to be gone. You're only going to have gross motor. And depending upon the situation that you're in, you may pull that firearm out, press that trigger, if the trigger is even reset, and nothing's going to happen. That'll be the worst feeling if you survive that. That'll be the worst feeling. You'll never forget that a day in your life. Don't ever do that. Always carry it with one in the chamber. If you are afraid to carry with one in the chamber, you should not be carrying a gun. You should not be carrying a gun, okay? Now, inside the waistband holsters. I'm going to demonstrate this, okay? Now, inside the waistband holsters, I'm going to carry an appendix, okay? Just to show you how this is carried. Now, when inside the waistband holsters, it's inside my waistband, an appendix carry, and I typically don't carry it like this, but inside the waistband, it's appendix carry. Now, I'm going to cover up, okay? Now, let's just say their situation happens where I need to pull my firearm. Stop. See what's happening? Look at what's happening. Look at what's happening. Now, typically, it's not supposed to be the case that the holster is supposed to come out with the firearm, but this is always a possibility. You see what just happened? Now, I just pulled that firearm out of my waistband, and guess what came with it? The holster. Bad idea, okay? So, let's put it inside of here and actually make sure that it's snapped in the way it's supposed to be, okay? There you go. And I'm glad that happened. I'm glad that happened because what you just saw is definitely a reality, okay? So, situation comes to be, sir, drop the gun. And I have that sweet spot to be able to actually react. Now, pull this it did it again, okay? Pull this firearm out. As you can see, I don't wear this holster. I don't like it. Absolutely. Pull the firearm out, pop, 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 and I'm scanning for additional threats, right? Now look at what I have to remember. Look at what I have to remember. Now I have to fidget around with my clothes and readjust my clothes just to get that firearm back in and hope that nothing is going to snag on this trigger to shoot off the Johnson, right? Johnson & Johnson is all of a sudden gone. It's not just a lotion, it's a problem, okay? I don't like this kind of holster. I don't even like inside the waistband holsters, okay? So, let's ditch this, okay? I don't like those oh, y'all found Johnson & Johnson the joke, okay? You get it. All right, so I typically like my outside the waistband holster, okay? Because and I'm going to show you, in a given situation, it would be pointless to carry absolutely without one in the gun. I agree, okay? Now, I typically like my inside the waistband holster. Again, let's make sure no magazines in the well. Great. No round is in the chamber. Great. No mag in the well, no round in the chamber. Good to go. Okay, press that trigger. Trigger's depressed. We're good to go, okay? Now, this is the holster I typically tend to carry, okay? This is a Black Hawk ALS holster that is specifically made for the Glock Model 19 with the flashlight, okay? They do make them without the flashlight. I like mine outside the waist. Now, you need to check your local area to make sure that printing is allowed. What is printing? This is printing. The outline that shows that I am carrying a gun. Me, I don't mind printing. Here's the reason why. I want you to know that today could be that day. Maybe I'm not the guy you want to try to rob. It's just, it doesn't look like a good fit, like this would work out. Oh shit, that gun looks big. Whatever you want to say, today is the day, okay? So I like this kind of holster. Now here we go. I'm able to draw, grab that firearm, pop, 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 okay? And before the police get on scene, holster up, cover up. There we go, okay? Did you see that? Lateral, pop, pop, pop. All right, and here we go. Immediately holster back up. Immediately holster back up. That becomes part of the problem for some people when we're talking about affordable, comfortable, usable, and battle ready. When we're talking about holster selection inside the waistband versus outside the waistband, when it's inside the waistband, you typically have more to consider. You have more concealment, but when it's time to use that firearm, have you practiced under real life conditions? I'm not talking about in the mirror, okay? Because you're not factoring for the real stress. You're not factoring for that gun being hot. You're not factoring for the sympathetic nervous system dump where your hands are kind of fidgety depending upon your stress levels and how you manage them. You're not factoring for those things, right? The greatest thing, I've talked to special operators, okay? Fifth Special Forces Group. When I was in the military at Fort Campbell, Fifth Special Forces, we were in the PX, okay? And I just happened to run across one. Asked them some questions, and they were like, you know what makes us good as special operators, among the other things, we're just good at the basics. We are just great at the basics, just the stuff that is so simple, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. And the more and more that we practice it, it's like we're walking. It's unconscious. Love it. And I've kept that with me to this day. When that situation is happening after you're done, all right, of course, you want to make sure that you're in a safe place, call 911, all that great stuff, okay? Holster up. You don't want to be the person with the gun in your hand when the police arrive on scene, because when they arrive on scene, they're looking for a person with a gun. There is nothing on you that says, I'm licensed. There is no I'm licensed shirt. I might start selling those. Licensee. So that way you can identify yourself, right? You got to put it all on all your clothing, right? Licensee. But let's really be real. You're not going to get that stuff. There's nothing on you that says license, but there is something on you that says person with a gun. You got that gun in your hand. You are the person they're looking for until they get you, encounter you, render you safe, and now they see that you are not the threat they were looking for. If you have no gun in your hand, if you're on the ground, you can play possum, whatever the case may be, you don't have a gun in your hand, so you got a greater chance of surviving that encounter. Okay? You said those shirts would be fire. And they might, Mark. I swear to God. Licensee, I swear. I mean, it's something. It identifies you immediately. Okay? And so somebody asked me again, what was the best concealed carry holster? I like my outside the waistband holsters, okay? These outside the waistband holsters allow you to be able to immediately holster up, okay? That's just my opinion. Now, if you just want to wear something inside the waistband because you're trying to conceal it because you're on that vacation someplace and you don't want it out there, that's fine. But just remember, you, more than anybody else, definitely need to consider not getting into anything at all. But when you do, and if it finds your way, you just need to be prepared. That's just, I can't sugarcoat it, and I'm not going to, okay? So Sig Sauer Tac Ops 1911. And if you all got any more questions, I got my pen, so I'm going to write this down. You said, what's my favorite self-defense gun? You're right, Tom. You're right. I'm not going to go there again, but you're right about that. What's my favorite self-defense gun? One that works. You heard me right. My favorite self-defense gun is one that works. Somebody asked me something about a revolver. Hang tight. Somebody asked me something about a revolver. The revolver that I have as a backup is the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 38. I call it affectionately D-Punch. You know what the D stands for. D-Punch. It has a lot of power behind it. My God, and it carries, it takes plus P rounds. It has a lot of power behind it, man. Oh my God, it's a lot of power. But D-Punch is effective. It's not one of those revolvers I would use for a aim and shoot, but it is definitely one of those kind of revolvers I would use exactly as the name implies. D-Punch. Pop! Just straight, just like that, you know? And when I do carry it, I typically do carry it appendix carry. So that way, in the event I need to use it, it's a straight pop. That's a type of gun. And I actually have practiced this on the range. Okay, I've practiced this on the range, and you know, both outside, inside, whatever the case may be. It's a 38. Just pop, 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 pop. You know, I say mag out. I'm so used to semi-automatics. You know, dump, put it back in there, pop, 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 and that's exactly what it is. It's a D-Punch. It's designed to be one of those, and I'm glad, Mark. Yeah, it's designed to be one of those. When you can't get to your semi-automatic pistol, it's designed to be, even if you're in a tussle on the ground and a person's got a gun, it's designed to be one of those quick pop. It's designed to be that effective D-Punch. Give him a swift kick in the D. You know, don't shoot him in the D. You get it, though. That's what it's designed to be. So I like that Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 38 revolver, okay? It's hammerless, okay? It has no hammer, so it's not going to get all snagged up and stuff like that. It's all inside, okay? Inbox me, Isaiah. Inbox me. You said for law enforcement that wants to get the concealed carry class, do we still have to take the range and range time? Yeah, you do. I make everybody shoot. I don't care whether, you know, what your background is. And think about it. If you're serious about this, you should want to go on the range and shoot. And I get it. Sometimes you get law enforcement and military that says, you know, I already do enough shooting, so I don't need to, you know, get on the range. Shut that shit up. You can never do enough shooting. Do you hear what I said? You can never do enough shooting. Never. You should shoot like you walk. Okay? It should be unconscious. Skilled, but unconscious. You can never do enough shooting. Okay? That's a bunch of BS. You said, I'm just looking now into protection. But if I had an inside carry, I would find a way to get, I'm sorry, I'm reading this now. I would find a way to get my shoe stuck in it. I don't know what that means. Tell me. I haven't shot the Walther PPQ. You're going to make me want to get that, Daniel, just to shoot it. Okay? All right, Xavier, how do you get your FOID card? You can come to us, Security Training Concepts. We're on 79th and Normal. But if you're not in the city, or if you just want to do it yourself, that's fine. I'm not, you know, partial to that. www.I as in Ida, S as in Sam, P as in Paul, F as in Frank, S as in Sam, B as in boy.com. ISP for Illinois State Police, FSB for Firearm Services Bureau.com. www.ispfsb.com. Let me tell you something that I just picked up. Oh, man. And it's not anything like that exciting. I just got super excited for something. Look, I told you guys that I'm very serious about training. And those of you all who know me know that I'm very serious about training. And so I want to challenge you all to do something. I'm finding just a piece of paper right now. Yeah, here we go. I want to challenge you all to do something. Go to the store, like Walgreens or whatever kind of drugstore that you got near you. And what's going on, Latrice? And get some Post-it notes. Hold on, let me put this charger in here. I don't want to lose it. Okay, get some Post-it notes. These kinds of Post-it notes, okay? Remember we talked about aim small, miss small. Now, you know there are different colors right here, right? Different colors. So we're going to grab this letter opener, and we're going to crack this open. I feel like I'm in the garage teaching you all how to do. This is how you build a wood dollhouse for Sarah. Don't do that, please. But this would be a good thing to do on the range. Now, we're talking about economical ways. Is economical a word? Whatever. Economic ways to build great targets that you could shoot at. You said I was just saying that clumsy, not fun. Okay. Here we go. Blank piece of paper. Okay, now obviously this is one of my range qualification. You did have that messed up, Erica. You know what I'm talking about. I think you said aim, shoot small, I don't know, run small, something. But I call it aim small, miss small. We're talking about cost-effective ways to actually go on the range. You know how those targets cost $1.50. I get it. Some of y'all are like, well, if you can't afford $1.50, you can't blah, blah, blah. Cut that crap out. Go on ahead and go to Walgreens, get a pack, or CVS Pharmacy, whatever. Get a pack of paper and get some Post-it notes, okay? Now, you can make your own targets to shoot at, and a FOID card is $11, Christian. You can make your own targets to shoot at, okay? And I'm going to tell you why I don't call them targets. I typically call them threats. We'll get to that too. Make sure I write that down. You guys are just learning everything. But I don't care. I just feel like teaching right now. I don't know why that happens. All right, here we go. We're just going to make some small little targets to shoot at. You guys are seeing what I'm doing already, right? You all see what I'm doing already, okay? Oh, get on there. I forgot what you said, Erica. You might have said something silly. Run small, fight small, something. I forgot what it was. You said I need to come to Jackson? I'm about to start traveling. Trust me, it's about to happen. Here we go. Hang this on the actual target post, and you could practice shooting at these small colors, right? You could practice shooting at these small colors. Of course, I didn't do this row, okay? Of course, these are kind of close together. But you could practice shooting at these small targets right here, okay? Now, how much did this cost you? I mean, how many more of these do you have left to shoot at? I mean, my God, you could shoot at these and shoot at these and shoot at these. And what you may not understand is it's only going to help you. Now, how far out would I put it? I'll tell you in a minute. It's only going to help you be able to tighten your shot group. See, when you got a big B-27 style, human torso style target, you're not paying attention to actual accuracy. Because let's really be real. No matter where you hit, even though shot placement does matter, if you hit, it's going to cause some kind of effect. But I want you to understand, you said the range may kick you out for that? No, it won't. No, it won't. No, it won't. Well, it just depends on what range you go to. I go to Eagle. They don't kick me out for this, okay? Because they let people bring their own targets. That they, you can purchase targets there, but you can bring your own. Half the time, when I go into the range, I go into the range with something just like this or something bigger, okay? And why do I go into the range with something like this or something bigger? I want you to understand that shooting at something like this is very unforgiving. Unforgiving. Why is it very unforgiving? Well, at 5 yards, which is typically how far I put the target or the threat, and we'll talk about that too, how far I put it out. Why? FBI studies show that most armed encounters occur between 2 to 5 yards. So you want to plan for the reality instead of planning for shooting all the way at the back and, well, I want to make sure he doesn't come closer. And, well, that's not most armed encounters. Some, yeah. Most, no. Okay? Especially as a civilian. This is very unforgiving. If I shoot at this and I miss, it's going to show you missed. Okay? It's very unforgiving. This little square does not care, right? This little square does not care. It doesn't care about your excuses as to why you missed, okay? I've got your question. Well, you just got in on the live, Gilda. I'm sorry. I'll answer your question. Ask your question again so I can write it down. I'm sorry, okay? But here we go. If you miss, this little square does not care about your reasons why you missed. You just missed. And so the goal is to hit. You just better unscrew it real quickly and hit this. Okay, and the many times you hit, then that's going to tighten up your shot group, okay? Especially with regard to where you're aiming. Because on the range, the only stressor that you have on the range is you. Nobody else but you, okay? If the shots that are being fired around you are stressors, you need to evaluate yourself or get used to the shots. I like going on the range when other people are shooting, and especially at Eagle. My God, if you go to Eagle Gun Range, and that's on 5900 West 159th Street in Oak Forest, I like shooting there because you have people firing various calibers of ammunition that make both loud booms and small pumes, okay? And you need to get adjusted to all of that gunfire, So I like shooting at these little Post-it notes. They also have little, what do I call them? Actually little 4x4s or actual, oh my God, I'm having a brain fart here. Somebody help me out. Little actual cards. You can actually get some playing cards if you want to. Shoot at those, but why would you shoot at playing cards? These are far cheaper, okay? I think I bought this pack for like $5. Plenty of things to just continuously shoot at, especially if you're talking about the price of an actual B-27, being $1.50. I mean, you buy 4 of those, and you'll continue to shoot. That's a big piece of paper that's gone to the garbage. You could have so much fun shooting at all of these and then put it on a piece of paper and then put some on top of this, some on top of this, some on top of this. You're talking about hours of nothing but fun tightening up your shot groups. And like I said, this is very unforgiving. If you miss, now on this, if you miss, you might still see that you hit someplace else. But that's why I typically like shooting at the, not the 8.5x11s, but more like your 5x7s, your flashcards, if you will. I like shooting at those because it's bigger than this, okay? And if you can get all of your shots within that 5x7, some of you all have seen my videos where I've actually shot at that 5x7 demonstrating aim small, miss small. And I think that's very important for you to, start in terms of the cadence in which you shoot. Start slow, okay? Work on your accuracy, but then start to build that speed up as you go along. Why? Again, the only stressor on the range is you. And if your shot groups are this tight on the range, okay, then imagine in a real situation that the spread is only going to be so big, It's not going to be all the way over the place. Now, if you get on the range and you see somebody, watch when you get on the range, and they've got shotgun patterns all over the place where they're here and here and here and here and here, and then they take a picture like this, like they're really ready. Shotgun patterns on the range is going to be horrible in a real given situation unless you just so happen to be lucky and that person is close enough that no matter where you shoot, you're going to hit. So you need to practice for those things. 2 more things I'm going to talk about. You still didn't put your question up here. You didn't put your question up here, Gilda. I want to answer your question. I didn't see it. So put it up there again so I can answer your question, please. Okay. For those of you all who are watching, I know the viewership kind of shot up and went down. This is just a free-for-all. We're talking about guns. That's primarily been the topic, guns. Okay. But whatever else you want to talk about. Targets versus threats. Targets versus threats. Okay. And then I'm going to get out of here myself. Targets versus threats. Do you all call the papers that you shoot at targets or threats? Let me get some responses. Targets or threats? I typically tend to call them threats. And the reason why I call them threats is if, I seen one firearms instructor, I'm not going to say his name, he's a really great guy, but I'm pretty sure he has a reason behind why he said what he said. He typically said, we don't train for the litigation, we just train to win. Well, in essence, I do understand from a combat perspective that we don't train for the litigation, we train to win. But you can't think that it's just going to end at the win, okay? You also have to be prepared to defend your use of force when you use it, because you, the shooter, the defender, not the offender, the defender, you have to be able to clearly articulate why you felt you had to use the force necessary, okay? And so, that having been said, saying what you're going to say on the stand and being on the stand are 2 different kinds of stressors. Ask any cop who has ever testified. Ask any civilian who has ever testified, okay? When you're on the stand, you typically, that SNS dump kicks in, okay? Especially, even if it's the state asking you questions, but it definitely kicks in when the defense asks you questions, okay? Or even the state, depending upon which side you're on, if the person who's allowed to ask leading questions, if you will, they are, I'm telling you, they will activate a level of stress within you that you thought you never had, okay? And so what happens is you will begin to default to your training. When you're talking about defaulting to your training, it is easy on the stand to use the word target. Why? Because that's how you were trained. I'm shooting at my target. You're going to the range to shoot at targets. Target this, target that. Walmart versus Target. I'm just playing. Not that kind of target, but you get what I'm saying, right? So think about the word target and what it means versus the word threat, and how a good lawyer can twist the use of that word target. Oh, you shot at your target. You mean you went after my client, didn't you? Because that's what target means, right? You're going after my client. You weren't defending yourself. You were targeting my client for your use of deadly force towards my innocent client, weren't you? Right? And so that comes with the use of that word target. Let's not give them a hole for them to do that, okay? Let's talk about the word threat, okay? You have to think about it. Judge, jury, threat. You think about it. Do you offend a threat? No, you defend against a threat. Everybody knows, or at least most people, logically thinking persons, or even whatever, everybody typically knows that a threat is something. It implies that this thing did something to you, which caused you to defend against it. That's why I typically do not call the pieces of paper that we shoot at targets, I call them threats. Because if you get that infused in your brain, you have to understand how the brain acts in the most simplistic nature, right? In its most simplistic form under stress. When you default to your training and that's all you've been taught is threat, threat, threat. In fact, when I get on the range and I call the line, I don't say fire. I don't say target. I say, all right, go on ahead. Look, go on ahead, point that firearm down range, aim. All right, 5-round center mass, 5-round center mass. Look through your rear sight at your front sight. Concentrate. Center mass on your threat. The command to shoot is threat. Ask anybody that's been through my gun class, Erica, you're watching. The command to shoot is threat. We never say fire. Why don't we say fire? Because when you think about fire, the average person, Sandra, I know you're watching, the average person who says fire, you're thinking about fire. Get out of there. Woo! Right? 5-alarm, steel box. You're thinking about a structure fire, right? You're not thinking about firearm, right? So I typically steer away from that kind of language. I want to get, y'all seen that. I typically use the word threat. Threat. Why? Because sir, put the gun down. Gun down. Sir, put the gun down. Gun. Threat. Threat. That's a call to action, right? And if you think about it from another perspective, right? You want to create witnesses. You want to create witnesses around you. Sir, gun down, hands up, sir, back up, gun down, please, gun down, threat. Now, think about it. After the situation is over with and the threat has stopped, whether the threat is alive or not, that's between Jesus or whomever he or she worships, whomever you or whatever worship. Alive or not is not the thing. Deadly threat stopping is the goal, or deadly threat stopping is the goal. Threats down, okay? When the homicide detectives or police come on scene, okay, they are going to ask questions. Some people are not going to want to participate in that investigation. Some people are going to want to. You have to understand about building a good defense, okay? Building a good defense. The average person may say, well, I don't know what was going on. I was paying attention to this. I was paying attention to that. I don't know. But I do know one thing. I just kept hearing this person say, stop, stay back, don't touch me, this threat. Threat. That's all I heard. Imagine all of those witnesses hearing the word threat and saying that you said threat. Does that help your defense or does it hurt your defense? I'd like to think it helps it. It lends weight to he gave commands. Time was there for him to give commands, and then threat. He said it out loud. Got my attention. I don't know. Me and my girl was fighting about that, but I heard threat. I immediately looked. right? You have to plan for the defense. And so while I do agree in certain respects that you don't plan for the litigation, you plan for the win, you gotta also plan for the litigation too, because there is the events that take place after you pull that trigger. Okay? I'm gonna promote a product here for those of you all who hung out and watched. Okay? ccwsafe.com. Yes, Rob, you already know it. ccwsafe.com. I say again, ccwsafe.com. Why do I promote CCW Safe versus USCCA or any other kind of insurance? Sorry, okay, sinuses. I promote ccwsafe.com because I've looked at all of the other insurances, okay? And I've looked at CCW Safe. I endorse ccwsafe.com. I'll put the link up there. Here's the reason why. Having been a police officer and having been in use of force investigations, I understand the methodical way and the politics that come behind, okay, the politics and the methodical way that investigations take place. You may believe that the police work for you because in your mind, you are the victim, okay? And in reality, you may be the victim. But there are certain things about evidence and criminal investigations that you may not understand. One, the police do not work for you. I say again, and don't get offended, just hear me out. You know I'm usually going to place when I say something. The police do not work for you. The police are paid by the legislators of that given jurisdiction that they operate within. They are law enforcement officers titled as police, sheriffs, deputies, whatever. They are law enforcement officers. They work for the lawmakers. Their job is to investigate and bring about a resolution to the event that took place. They were not there. They do not know. So they are going to rely on whatever evidence is left on the scene after this situation takes place. They are going to listen to whomever will give them a statement. They will look for whatever evidence is in the area, including blood spatter patterns, the position of the bodies, casings, the elements, which way things would have likely blown, did this, did that, who said what, GSR residue on the hands. There's a bunch of methodical things that police officers have to look for. And while you may think you are the victim, the evidence on the scene may or may not support that reality. So you need to have your own team of subject matter experts, people who were former homicide detectives, lawyers, I mean the gamut, okay, of people who are going to work for you and with you to help you defend yourself. You need to plan for the worst and hope for the best. CCW Safe is just like a police union. The way that police unions are set up and designed to protect officers and to help officers in the course of the investigation prove their either guilt or innocence, whatever the case may be, okay? That is how CCW Safe is set up. It is not an insurance product. It is a services product. They will help you in the administrative aspect, in the civil aspect, and in the criminal aspect of a self-defense situation involving the use of a firearm, okay? Most insurances help you after you are found not guilty. They have some benefits that help you during the process, but the great majority of it is afterward. I like CCW Safe because it activates as soon as you call them, okay? As soon as you call them, all right? Now, that's why I promote that product, okay? There is a statement I want you to remember, and it's a statement they would even tell you to remember as well. In the event you are involved in a shooting, the last thing you want to do is open your mouth and reveal information about what happened in that situation. Why is that? You only have one chance to give a statement, and that statement better be the truth, because any type of redaction, retraction, correction could be seen as you lying. Okay? And under the influence of that physiological and psychological stress, you may open your mouth and say something that probably did not even happen, but your body is recovering and you don't recognize it. Okay? Officer, I was the victim of a crime and I was forced to defend myself. I will give you a statement later in the presence of my lawyer. I'd like my lawyer, please. I say again, officer, I was the victim of a crime and I was forced to defend myself. I will give my statement later in the presence of my lawyer. I'd like my lawyer, please. I say again, officer, I was the victim of a crime and I was forced to defend myself. I will give my statement later in the presence of my lawyer. I'd like my lawyer, please. Notice I did not get ignorant. I didn't say, I'm not going to talk to you. I want you to understand using the word not could be signified as a method of non-compliance. You don't want to give off the odor of non-compliance, but you want to give off the odor of compliance with the preservation of your rights. I say again, you want to give off the odor of compliance with the preservation of your rights in mind. Officer, I was the victim of a crime and I was forced to defend myself. I will give you a statement later in the presence of my lawyer. I'd like my lawyer, please. Now, they may try, well, you're saying you were the victim of a crime. What crime was that? The crime that I was a victim of. Well, we're trying to help you, Mr. Brown. You said you were the victim of a crime. What crime were you a victim of? The crime that I was a victim of. Well, what happened after you were the victim of a crime? I was forced to defend myself. Well, what did you do when you defended yourself? I defended myself because I was forced. You understand how you're playing with the same words within that statement and you're not deviating from those words, right? Just like how you remember how to walk, just like you remember how to talk, unconsciously, that statement needs to be remembered unconsciously. And that should be the only thing that you say out of your mouth, except can I have some water? It's just wordplay. Absolutely, Erica. Just wordplay. Okay? And this is not to, well, you just don't want to be cooperative with us. That's not the case. But I'm under stress. When you get involved into a police shooting, you're under stress. The same rights that you have are the same rights that I have. And I wouldn't even say that statement. Me, I probably would. But you don't say that statement. The only thing you should remember is, officer, I was the victim of a crime. And you could even say it with such officer, I was the victim of a crime and I was forced to defend myself. I will give you the statement later in the presence of my lawyer. I'd like my lawyer, please. I'm just saying. Now, Sandra, you just asked a question. Do they arrest you to get the statement? Look, I'm going to tell you this, Sandra. You can do everything right and still get arrested by the police. I say again, you could do everything right and still get arrested by the police, okay? I am not necessarily caring about the arrest. I can't control whether you arrest me, but I know this. I'd rather you arrest me and then me be found not guilty because I didn't give a bad statement than for me to try to give you what I think you may want to hear or misstate. And then you arrest me anyway because I comply with you. And then my misstated statement, right, gets me 48 years. You decide 48 hours or 48 years. An investigative hold is only 48 hours. 48 hours or 48 years. You decide. You don't plan for things when they are good. You plan for things when they are bad. The good part is, oh, he releases me without charges. Great. They can always come back and arrest you. They can issue a warrant for your arrest based upon that statement. Don't ever give a statement other than, officer, I was the victim of a crime and I was forced to defend myself. I would love to give you my full statement later in the presence of my lawyer. I like my lawyer. Guess what you just gave them? You gave them a statement. That was an official statement. You know what that statement also sounds like? On or about August 29th, 2000 such and such, our officers responded to the scene of a such and such where a person was said to have done this. The person in question presented a gun, and our officers did use their firearm and stopped the subject. An investigation is underway, and as soon as we get more information about what happened in this investigation, we will let you know. Right? That's a statement. A statement issued by a public information officer letting you know the very small, finite details of what happened in that given situation with more details to follow. That is a statement. So if that statement suffices as a statement released to the press, why doesn't your statement of, officer, I was the victim of a crime, I was forced to defend myself, I would love to give you my statement later in the presence of my lawyer, I like my lawyer, please. That's a statement. That's a statement. I'll even write it down. Officer, I was the victim of a crime, I was forced to defend myself, I would love to give you a full statement later in the presence of my lawyer, I like my lawyer, please. You get it? Right? Understand that you can still comply, not give off the odor of non-compliance, and still preserve your rights. Did you all find tonight's session informational? Is that a word? Did I just make it up? I don't know. I'm tired right now. Okay. I hope you all found tonight's live informational. I really do. Obviously, you can see I love teaching. I'm not going to stop. Teaching is like Red Bull. I don't want to say something else. I almost said something else too. I don't want to say that. That'd be a bad thing. But I hope you all found this informational. I really do. Some people say, well, Mike, you shouldn't give out so much information because they wouldn't come to your class. Shut up. You know why I say that? Because other instructors do it and they have packed classes too. So, knowledge is power. I want you guys to just enjoy the freedoms that we have, There's so much division going on that I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I just want to talk about teaching and stuff that keeps us free, stuff that keeps us free. I don't want to talk about hate anymore. I just don't. It's that kind of shit is depressing. Who wants to talk about that? All right, well, I'm out of here. Share this video with somebody you feel may want to know something, especially about guns, Share this video with somebody and what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this video. And then I'm going to, make it smaller in certain respects. So that way, I could put it in other formats. You said you've never been privy to what I've given. Oh, I appreciate that, Diane. I really do. I'm glad when you guys come on here and you guys learn something new. I really do. Yep. Oh, by the way, I'm scheduled to take No, Jamie, I am not running for mayor. You guys are something else. God, no. Illinois Board of Elections. Look it up. I'm not running. I'm not. Jesus Christ, no. There's too many candidates. And then I don't even want to talk about that. That's crap. But anyway, I'm scheduled to take the law school admissions test in March. Okay. Just to let you know, I have not forgotten about me going to law school. Those of you all who did donate to me, I greatly appreciate it. I really do. And I'm scheduled to take the law school admissions test in March of 2019. Okay, so wish me luck. Of course, I'm studying for that stuff. Like I said, I'm trying to get into law school, so I'm gonna get into law school. I'm gonna be a lawyer. I'm stuck on criminal defense and family law. I don't know what else I'm still stuck on. We'll see what happens. I may get into law school and may decide to change my specialization. I don't know. But for those of you all who are interested, I'm extremely humble. Whatever, I did that, Diane. I talked about guns for women earlier. Okay, you might have to go back and watch it or hit me in my inbox and I'll talk about it some more. If you guys want to talk, you can always Facebook call me. We can talk about stuff like that. Yeah, that's fine. I don't care. Whatever. Now, if I don't answer, I'm busy. But leave me a message and I'll call you back. Stuff like that. But I only asked for $10. as a donation. Whatever you choose to donate, I've had people from my Facebook Lives that have donated a lot, and I greatly appreciate it. Of course, I'm keeping all receipts and all stuff to show you what I'm doing with this stuff, so if you choose to, that's fine. If not, that's fine too. Either way, I'm going to still teach. So either way. You said you were going, but you changed your mind and went to acting classes. I remember you said that. Yeah, I'm going to call you back, Rob. I like the faces you put up there. I saw your message. I got to read that too. Just give me just a little bit of time. Trust me, I'm busy, very busy. You said I should have run for sheriff. Sheriff of what? Nottingham? Because not Cook County. Cook County is a hell of a machine. And I put up something too. I was saying about, that victim mindset. It's like for a person like me, I hate to say it, but I think that my success, and I'm blessed to have been successful thus far, but I think that continued success may happen if I move, and I may not, I don't know. But my continued success may happen if I move to a different audience, not abandoning my audience that I've had before. But typically when I talk about the things that I talk about, it's got a lot to do with not being a victim and finding other ways to do other things. And so some of my audience doesn't like that, and that's fine. I'm not in control of those things. But I think that sometimes people have tagged me as a conservative or a liberal. I'm neither. I'm very independent. My mouth is too reckless for politics. And that's one reason why I don't get into politics, is because, politics can be about getting things done. Politics could be about getting things done and making sure that, people's needs are met. But politics tends to make strange bedfellows. There's a lot of things you would have to do for certain people to get in certain places. And I was one time trying to be the chief of police in a small town in Cook County. And I learned a lot about the politics. Yeah, I agree. And I learned a lot about the politics when observing, okay, because I do a lot of observation, especially when I'm quiet. When I'm quiet, and some of y'all say that's rare that I'm quiet, right? It's not. It really isn't. But yeah, we did have that conversation, Erica. Definitely reckless and a league of your own. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm insubordinate to a certain degree, but I want you all to understand that I am extremely passionate about training, and especially when I, love the field of law enforcement, and love the community and things like that, and the training that we need to have within our communities, and the reforms that do need to happen in law enforcement and in the community as well. And the thing is that when I'm passionate about training and I believe in the merits of something, I'm relentless. I am relentless about it because I believe in the merits of it. And I'm like that kid. That kid will sit there and be like, you'll tell him no, and you're like, well, why not? And then the parents are like, because I said so. Well, that's not a reason. That's not a good enough reason for me. Well, why not? Why can't we have the best? Why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? We have a responsibility to do this. We have a responsibility to do that. And that's not a good thing. I mean, it is, but not for policing, not for politics, because, and especially in certain areas where it's either, if it's not their idea, they don't want to hear about it. Or if it's not, yeah, but why? And if it's not their idea, they don't want to hear about it. Or if it's too controversial, they don't want to address it because they don't want to touch you because you're controversial and you're this and you're that, And then when you live in certain areas where that victim mindset, is a dangerous thing that victim mindset that tends to keep certain politicians in office. I hate to say it, but, if we could keep a group of people, and it's not just blacks, you got lower class whites and stuff like that fall into that same bag, Hispanics and whatever, if we can keep them down and make them feel like they are helpless and hopeless without us, then it makes us relevant. It makes us relevant. They need me. You need me to help you out. You need me to get this. You need me. And so that thing that, you know, I just can't. I'm all for empowering people to, you know, get out of, and not perfecting people. You could talk about perfection, but you're never going to get perfection, you know, all the time, you know, but just empowering people to take control of their own situations in as far, you know, in so much as they can. And so, you know, that's why politics wouldn't work for me, because then I got to kiss your ass. I got to kiss your ass to do this or to get this done. But then now I owe you a favor, and that's going to put me in a box. I don't have time for that shit. You know, I just can't. So, you know, I don't know. So I feel like I would have to move to a different place that promotes people standing up and, you know, defense of the home and defense of, you know, your person, and not being a perfect person, but, you know, just stuff like that. I don't know. It's just my thoughts and opinions, you know, because my rhetoric has cost me business. It really has. It's cost me business. Certain people, you know, I don't like the way what he has to say about blacks. I don't like that because he thinks that this person's shooting is justified and this. Yeah, but you haven't bothered to, you know, look at why I say what I say, some of the things that I say. And so sometimes that affects me. I'm not going to lie. I'd be lying to say that it didn't. Sometimes it affects me. And so, but I just can't stop. I just can't stop. I was raised differently. You know, sometimes it's about race. Sometimes it's about you. Sometimes it's about neither. Sometimes it's about somebody else. But, you know, you got to own your space. You got to own your space. You know, you got to own your space. You know, if it's about race, then yeah, it's about race that time. But it's not about race every time. It could be about you. It could be about the fact that you did not comply, the fact that you did not do this right, the fact that you did not do that right. You know, the fact that you didn't take this into consideration. You know, when you jumped into this situation, yeah, it turned out this way, but you assumed the liability of whatever could happen in this given situation. You know, and you didn't take that into consideration. You know, sometimes it's about you. You know, and so that's just how I tend to, you know, do my stuff. I mean, we are only the collection of our thoughts, ideas, opinions, you know, experiences, things like that. That's all that we ever are. You know, anything else is just whatever. It is what it is. So I appreciate you guys for hanging in there. You said, Mike, but the truth hurts them, and you're straightforward and tell the truth about things that's going on. I mean, that's all I can do. I'm sure you all don't want me to sugarcoat it. You know, you want me to tell what I believe, you know, about certain things. You know, and I try the best that I can to back it with stats, facts, and figures, you know, because I don't want to be called out, you know, you're a liar, you're a BS, you know. And to date, I haven't been, you know. It is what it is. You know, it is what it is. So, all right, y'all, it's 11/17 on the 4th of December, 2018, on the mic with Mike. Remember that? Yeah. But I'm out of here. Thank you guys for hanging in. You said that doesn't sound to be about you, but what others want from you. I don't know. Diane, I don't know. I really don't know. But, you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. You know, I'm just going to keep on moving on. Like I said, my sights are set on law school. And that's that. You know, I just can't wait. My God, law school is going to make me something else. I can't wait. I'm excited for reals. I'm looking to go to John Marshall. That's where I'm looking to go. John Marshall Law School in Chicago. I'm not limiting myself to just that school, but my heart has been set on that school for a long time. I go by there and dream about going to that school. So, yeah, I need to go on ahead and get on it for reals. All right, y'all been hanging out with me for quite some time. I appreciate it. 74 people, and the viewership has shot up and gone down and stuff like that. Gene, did you just stick your tongue out at me? All right. Love you guys for hanging in there. All right, you guys go on ahead and get some sleep. It's work to be done in the morning. Y'all take care.